This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening, everyone. Another blow for Tasmanian workers. JBS today confirming it will temporarily close its lamb and mutton processing facility at Longford. 86 employees are affected by the decision, and it's unclear when or if operations will restart.
More uncertainty for JBS employees. Today, 86 Longford staff were told their temporary stand down will continue indefinitely.
This is really a product of low sheep numbers.
Last summer's drought and the winter floods still taking their toll. Increased wool prices also contributing. JBS says its beef line at the Longford site will continue operating as normal, but everything to do with lamb and mutton will be shut down.
The facility will not operate. I wouldn't use the word mothball. It's a temporary closure. It's in accordance with the enterprise agreement, and there's no definitive date for the plant to restart.
Abattoirs across the country are dealing with the same livestock shortage situation. Those stood down in Tasmania are being given leave entitlements and access to financial counselling, but unions say that isn't enough.
Workers would like to be made redundant. These workers have now been out for 2 months without a wage. They can't go and access any type of government benefits, so it'd be a sign of goodwill from the company to actually pay these people out of redundancy but still give them the first option of coming back when they re-employ.
Today's meetings come after almost a year of uncertainty for lamb workers, and the government says it will still be a long road ahead.
It's important that we recover from what have been really the most challenging 12 to 18 months I think we've seen in Tasmania for agriculture. But our producers bounce back, they're resilient, and look forward to the day where the smalls line once again is back into production. Mr
Rockcliffe says he will work with producers and processing facilities to develop a short and long-term plan to boost livestock numbers. Monika Dadson at Southern Cross News.
Locally, Premier Will Hodgman says he will take up the issue of 457 visas directly with Malcolm Turnbull when he arrives in Tasmania tomorrow. The question now is how the state government can upskill local workers while still growing the population.
The ripple effects of the announcement are being felt at the local level. The Premier says there are around 110 workers on 457 visas in Tasmania, only a small percentage of employees overall, but enough to disrupt industry.
In areas where there's been rapid growth, and we're seeing that in tourism, for example, an itinerant workforce is very important to plug holes and to plug gaps.
The potential skills shortage forcing the state government to think outside the box, especially seeing as economists have previously encouraged population growth to keep the economy ticking.
We want to see that happening naturally, but also to collaborate with federal government agencies to welcome additional skilled migrants and refugees indeed.
I think it'll leave industry and business here in the lurch.
The opposition is working on a proposal of its own, possibly involving a shake-up of training programs.
We know that there's been a real problem here in Tasmania between what industry wants and what the local workforce can provide.
There are no job fears here at Elphinstone's Wynyard plant though. Work will soon pick up now Queensland company BusTech has been named to build 100 new buses for Metro's fleet.
We will deliver a very good product and everyone can be proud of it.
The first vehicles are expected to be ready by Christmas. Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
A new agreement controlling investment and planning into tourism ventures has been ticked off. The partnership will see the Cradle Coast Authority work closer with Parks and Wildlife through a new framework. It comes ahead of planned upgrades to visitor facilities at Cradle Mountain, with contracts expected to be offered early next year.
There's a lot of work to do between now and then in terms of the planning approvals process and also the detailed designs and the tender process.
We need to take that informal relationship, which then depends on personalities, to a more structured approach.
The organisations will also focus on promoting other parts of the region, in particular Stanley, the Gordon River and Macquarie Harbour. A teenage boy who saved his granddad's life has been praised for his heroic actions 8 months on from what could have been a family tragedy. Jared Curry and his granddad Ross were collecting wood when Ross's chainsaw slipped, leaving him clinging to life.
It's an award that this teenage hero didn't ever expect to receive. Today, 14-year-old Jared Curry was presented with a certificate of commendation by Ambulance Tasmania for his considerable bravery during the traumatic incident.
Jared's done a pretty good job. Like, it would have been hard for an adult even, let alone a kid. But he's done well.
In August last year, Jared and his granddad Ross were woodhooking near Bothwell when Ross slipped and lost control. The chainsaw he was using severed his wrist and caused significant blood loss, an incident so fierce he's lucky to be alive.
In there was sort of like it was only hanging by just this piece on the back here and down there. So the old chainsaw had a bit of a good old feed amongst the bones and everything in there, so yeah.
Jared took the 000 call and quickly thought to tourniquet Ross's arm, which was losing a significant amount of blood, before the pair drove 7 kilometres to meet paramedics. It was these quick actions that prevented the accident from ending in tragedy.
Thanks to Jared, wrapping my hand up in a big towel and pulling it real tight and stop the blood from squirting out. And so, yeah, I've really got to thank Jared for saving my life and being here today.
A few days after it happened, Jared described what it was like.
When he done it, I turned around and asked him was he right, and he said no. And at that point, the tone of his voice and all, I knew something was definitely wrong. So that's when I just ran straight to the full drive.
Just like happened, didn't it, that day? He's more than a grandson. He's my saviour. So, yeah, and I love him for it.
Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
The statewide crackdown on our roads this Easter officially wraps up today, and while there were no fatalities, Tasmania Police say it's disappointed with the amount of people using drugs and driving. 68 people tested positive to illicit drugs while behind the wheel.
No fatalities on the roads this Easter is being hailed as a positive result. But police say the significant amount of drivers testing positive to drugs isn't.
It's 40 higher than like this period last year. It's very disappointing really, just think that there's so much of it out there.
There were over 17,000 drug and alcohol tests undertaken on the roads this period. 68 drivers returned positive oral fluid tests, with the majority identified as cannabis or amphetamines.
Okay. You're putting yourself in danger, you're putting your passengers in danger, you're putting every other road user in danger as well. And it's very disappointing to find that we've had so many positive results this year.
47 people were charged with drink driving and will face court. Meanwhile, drivers are reminded to not use their phone while behind the wheel.
Put your phone in the boot of your car, because at that point you cannot be tempted to put your hands on it for that split second, and that's all it takes to take your eyes off the road.
Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
Georgetown has been named host of this year's State Labor Conference. The North East Centre will be where the party reveals its candidates for the upcoming election and discuss policy.
We picked Georgetown this year because we know that Georgetown's had some tough times, so we want to be there in the community to support them.
Meanwhile, the decision to scrap the Safe Schools anti-bullying program in Tasmania is drawing criticism from the Greens. The controversial scheme will be replaced by an alternative once federal funding dries up later this year.
A truly effective anti-bullying program encourages that sense of embracing human diversity.
We're investing $3 million into our own anti-bullying initiative.
The state government says its decision hasn't been influenced by Erica Betts, a long-time critic of safe schools. Young Tasmanian migrants were taught some of the tricks of the trade today as part of a 2-week course to build skills in construction. The men are learning the trade at the Hobart Resource Cooperative to help make them more employable.
these young guys are coming along to learn some basic construction training skills, safety information, skills that they'd need to get work in the construction industry.
I was in my country, I work in building, but it was with wood. It was by brick, and it's a new thing for me. And I would like to be a builder in future.
As well as hands-on skills, the project allows participants to practice their English and make new friends. Tasmanian children have been treated to a trip back in time, today experiencing what it was like to be a sailor nearly 200 years ago on the Lady Nelson.
Its journey from England to Australia, and all the things that sailors would do on board the Lady Nelson over its life, learning about the food that they ate, the different duties and activities that sailors would have during their day.
The program is run by Hobart's Maritime Museum during school holidays.
Prominent Tasmanian businessman Bob Cheek says he'll stump up $1 million in sponsorship money for a Tasmanian AFLW team. But the lucrative offer comes with one special condition. $1 million over 5 years. That's Zap Fitness owner Bob Cheek's sponsorship offer for a Tasmanian AFLW team. But there's a catch. Cheek says his offer only stands if the Tasmanian team is a standalone side.
Why should we be part of North Melbourne or Hawthorn? We want our own team. We deserve our own team.
Currently, any Tasmanian AFLW team is likely to be linked with North Melbourne. Expansion is slated, with an AFL Commission meeting on Friday. Cheek's $1 million deal might only be the beginning.
I've got a few mates in the business world that I'll be talking to. I would hope they all get behind that and want to stand behind it as Tasmanians.
The offer has shades of confectionery company Mars's offer of $4 million over 3 years to sponsor a Tasmanian men's team back in 2008.
It excites me the amount of underlying support there is for our game. We've just got to harness it.
Melbourne AFLW player Emma Humphreys would love to see a Tasmanian team in any form, but admits crossing over from the D's wouldn't be easy.
It'd definitely be a tough decision. It'd be one I'd have to think long and hard about.
Cheek's offer comes on the same day AFL Tasmania launched its State Women's League. Humphreys will automatically be one of the stars of the comp, opting to suit up for Burnie this winter.
I love Burnie as well as a club, so just really want to come back and help put what I've learnt from Melbourne back into junior development as well.
Christy Baker will don yellow and black representing Tigers, one of 5 State League clubs in the comp. It's hoped all 9 State League clubs will field women's teams in the coming years.
To have every men's TSL club aligned to a women's TSL club, it'd be great for us to get some curtain raiser matches to the boys and play alongside them. I think it'd be wonderful.
The Hobart Chargers are fighting tooth and nail to keep star recruit Tom Garlep for the remainder of the season. Garlep had only signed a 3-game deal, but his performances have more than exceeded expectations. In his 3 games with Hobart, Sydney King, Tom Garlep averaged 22 points and 6 rebounds, more than enough to have the team desperate to secure him for a further 12 games this season.
Everyone's seen what he can do and they want him to stay, and to win a championship, obviously, that would really help. But again, we're very conscious of the financial stability.
The Chargers need to raise about $12,000 to get Garlep to stay on. They've secured half of that already, and while the team is rattling the tins, they believe he's more than worth it.
So this goes over that budget, which is something that we were committed not to doing. But Tom's just been such a great addition for the club and the sponsors that everyone wants him back.
First things first though, Anthony Stewart's side takes on Sandringham on Friday night at the Deck. The Sabres will come armed with a new import.
I'm expecting it's probably our toughest game yet now with the new import in place.
The women's team also battling Sandringham, a 3rd win from 4 games up for grabs.
They haven't had the greatest start to the season, so it probably makes them a bit more dangerous because they obviously really need a win.
Launceston will get their crack at Sandy on Saturday night. Ben Rush hoping incoming Sabres import Jasmine Gill is worse for wear after arriving from Europe.
Practice with the team probably Thursday night, fly here, play, drive to Launceston, play, so hopefully she's nice and fatigued when she gets here.
Sandringham's men's side will travel to Ulverston on Saturday night to take on the Northwest Thunder. And the Tasmanian Running Festival will this year be given a new look. The Launceston 10 to start and finish in City Park. The event launched today with its new organisers saying they want to include more local elements.
So we're looking for some great entertainment, some great producers. So we're basically making a bit of a festival and making the event extend just beyond the Sunday.
Launceston runner Josh Harris says this year will be his 11th time competing.
A great stepping stone to kind of future events. So this year I'm hopefully going to the World Championships, so I'll use it as a key lead-up race.
It's hoped 1,500 people register for the June 18 event.
Good evening. After some early fog this morning, it's been a fine and mostly sunny day around the state. Both Hobart and Launceston reached 24 degrees. It was 20 in Burnie and 21 in Devonport. Grove and Bushy Park both reached a top of 24. It was 23 at Flinders Island and St Helens, 20 at Lowhead, Wynyard and Friendly Beaches, and 19 at Maria Island and Lyowini. From the satellite, we can see a large area of middle to low cloud covering South Australia and extending into the Southern Ocean. Some lower level cloud is visible over the eastern coast of the mainland. On the close-up, cloud over Bass Strait and to the west, but mostly clear skies over the state. Taking a look ahead at tomorrow, the high pressure to the east of Tasmania will remain near stationary and continue to direct a northerly flow over the state. The cold front will weaken into a trough and remain very slow moving well to the west, extending into South Australia. To the waters, mostly northeast to northwesterly winds reaching 20 knots at times about the east and west. Seas to 1.5 metres. A possible late shower for Hobart tomorrow, looking at a top of 25 degrees, 25 for Cygnet, New Norfolk 26. Launceston partly cloudy and 24, partly cloudy for Devonport also 21 degrees and 23 for Campbelltown. 21 with a possible shower for Burnie, Strawn 24, Smithton 21. St Helens mostly sunny with a top of 23, 25 and partly cloudy for Swansea, Fingal 24. Looking ahead to Friday, fine apart from early showers in the west and far south and late showers in the north. Saturday, fine about the north coast with showers elsewhere, mainly in the afternoon and evening. Sunday, showers extending statewide by late morning, contracting to the north and east in the evening. Now let's take a look around the country tomorrow. 28 degrees and mostly sunny for Perth. Brisbane, a possible shower, 26. Sydney, 24 degrees and partly cloudy, and 25 degrees with a possible late shower for Melbourne. Now let's take a look at the current conditions around the state. 16 and clear for Hobart, Launceston 16 and partly cloudy, Devonport 14 and partly cloudy. That's all the weather I've got. Thanks, Joe.
Lovely. Thanks so much for that, Britt. And that's all the news I've got for now. We will see you throughout the evening with updates. But thanks so much for your company. Good night.